Hi, thank you for joining me today.
Yeah, happy to.
Would you mind introducing yourself really quickly?
Sure. I'm Alec Turnbull. I run a number of different things in the climate space. So I am the founder of Climate Tech Cities, which is a climate tech community here in New York, and also in LA, San Francisco, Seattle, and we started up a little community in DC as well. So trying to create a global network of local communities around climate solutions.
Great,
I also am founder of Climate Film Festival here in New York, and then I also work in climate at a startup that is focused on building decarbonization.
great. That's really cool. So could you talk a bit about kind of the more specific work you do regarding climate tech cities, like the Climate Film Festival and the new startup you're part of?
Yeah, Climate Tech Cities is honestly it's really simple, but it's been cool and powerful to see how just doing something simple and consistently can really create a community and really kind of expand. So. Climate Tech Cities started out just as a meetup and a newsletter. And what we do for the newsletter is really simple. We send out all the events that are happening in climate in a city each week. And it provides a platform for anyone who's running an event to post something, host something, and immediately get people who are interested to come in. It also gives us a way to sort of define what we mean by climate tech in a way that can be really expansive. So rather than focusing just on renewable energy or some of the like more futuristic stuff like carbon capture, we can also include arts, we can include culture, we can include policy, activism, really the whole breadth of food, circular economy. Like there's so much that goes into climate. And so we post events by that and through that kind of do some definition of what climate tech is. And then we also run events. So we run meetups, we run demo nights, we run panels. And for those, we'll do one or two a month and have a couple consistent ones. We've got a demo night where we invite investors and climate tech startups and others from the community to come and kind of like hear what people are working on. And we do those once a quarter. The meetups are really casual. They're a chance for people to just kind of show up and say hello and meet each other and go from there. The Climate Film Festival is a sister organization to that and sort of grew out of it as a nonprofit and is a little bit what it sounds like. It's a film festival. It is also a uh, an organization with year-round programming. So sort of similar in approach. We do monthly events that are sort of smaller and really focused on partner organizations throughout New York City. And for those, we do a short screening. Sometimes it's just a chance for people to meet. We try and do screenings and panels. We did one last week with Rethink Food and the Series Film Festival. And we had someone from Brooklyn Grange, which is a rooftop farm, someone from the Mayor's Office of Food and Sustainability. We had another someone who works on kind of local food and farm, like farm to table delivery, and the head chef of Rethink Food, which is upcycled food. They were all on a panel and kind of gave a talk back after the film. And then we have our main festival coming up in September, which is a 3-day festival uh, at the opening of Climate Week New York. And so that's sort of a traditional film festival. We're going to be in a theater. We invite people in kind of Friday through Sunday, and we've got over 200 films that have been submitted and are kind of going through the jurying process right now for what we'll actually show.
Yeah, that's really great. So it seems like a lot of your work is centered around kind of like spreading awareness about climate change, kind of like connecting people and building that network. So is this always something that you've been interested in, or have you done jobs in different fields or kind of different jobs before this?
Yeah, I've done a bunch of different stuff before this. I really had no idea what I was going to do when I graduated college.
Yeah.
And I tutored, I bartended, I catered, I worked in restaurants. I thought that I was going to go to law school and worked at a law firm, and then decided against it, which I think, at least for me, was a good decision. Uh, and I taught myself how to program, moved to San Francisco, worked as a programmer, came back here, started a startup in education technology. Uh, then ended up working in on the tech side of large media companies that sort of grew, moved from writing code to kind of building teams around that and building teams around the actual sort of products we were building. And then in 2020, sort of uh, kind of was sitting at home,
Yeah.
isolated, like all of us, and decided that it was time to kind of take a step back. I've been wanting to work on something a little bit more meaningful, and climate had seemed like something to me when I was growing up that was really important, but also maybe someone was going to fix, right? It's a big thing. It seems like someone should be doing something about it. And
Yeah.
I didn't study it. I didn't know how I fit in. And so I didn't really see a way for me to do anything on it. I had some friends who were working in renewable energy, but they had engineering degrees and had been doing it their whole career. And in 2020, I just sort of sat down and decided, you know what, I'm gonna sit and actually go back to the basics and really learn about it and be kind of humble about the fact that I don't know anything. And so I started reading up on my own. I did some online courses. I met a number of kind of community groups online, which is sort of how this community thing got started. And that was really the start of my transition into working on climate. And that's also how I found my current job, where I work at a startup, and we're building some of the futuristic stuff. We build carbon capture, we build methane leak technology. It's really, we've got a shop next door where all the hardware engineers are actually like assembling things. I'm working much more on trying to get them out to buildings, but it's been a really rewarding experience.
Yeah, no, wow, that is really, really inspiring. It shows a lot of dedication and commitment that despite not having a lot of education on climate change, you sat down, you kind of studied about this, and then this is like your job now. I think that's really inspiring. So, what did you study in college if it wasn't related to your job now?
Oh, history.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so like what kind of history?
Uh, my I had a focus on 19th century Russian intellectual history. So Tolstoy, Dostoevsky. Yeah. Um, Still love it.
That's really great. So I would assume there's not much application of that in like climate tech cities, right?
Uh, I mean, I'll advocate for the humanities and liberal arts here. You never know what you like. I mean, not that you never know. Plenty of people know what they're going to do. I've got a good friend who's known he was going to be a doctor since he was like 5, and is a doctor. But so no, obviously, directly my knowledge of Russian history does not necessarily inform climate. However, I do think that the approach, which and in college I majored in history, but I took a bunch of other classes. I took classes in physics, I took classes in politics, I took classes in philosophy, and in English, like all around. And I think that flexibility and the focus on kind of writing and, I mean, I hate to say it, critical thought, uh, does come into play, right? And does come into play in terms of either these career transitions or in terms of really thinking through something that is a large, almost historical thing that's happening, and trying to process through some of that. So
Yeah,
not directly,
definitely.
but indirectly.
Yeah, I think I'd agree. I think like school is not like school and college. It's not necessarily about like teaching you facts. It's about, like you said, teaching you to critically think, teaching you to write, and like teaching you work ethic and stuff. So I think that's really cool. Um,
100%.
yeah. So when you were in college, did you do anything like regarding climate change, whether that was like participating in a club or like a publication or anything like that?
In college, I did not. Yeah, I was much more. I did some theater stuff. I did some theater stuff. I worked on one of the college papers. Yeah.
Okay. So, um, you talked a little bit about how you wanted to do something meaningful and that kind of led you into this field. Was there anything else, like a specific experience or like mentor or something like that, that also pushed you to work in the climate field?
Uh, Not a specific mentor. I think my friends have been really inspiring, seeing people who have some of them have worked in climate, and I've always thought, and some of them are people who I met later, like kind of. And I just always thought I was like, oh, it's so cool that you're working on this. Like, I think you're a star. Like, I wish I were doing something like that. And it was always sort of in the back of my head. Uh, and some of my friends are not working in climate at all, but are doing things like my friend who's a doctor and doing things where there really is an extra layer of impact on how they've chosen to spend their life and their careers. And that was something that has, I think, always stuck with me. It's been something I was looking for. For climate specifically, I think we all kind of see the urgency, and it's been something that has been, you feel it more and you see it more. And uh, I don't know, 2019 was the year of, I think, orange skies in San Francisco. And,
Yeah.
uh, every year has its own thing. I don't know which one pushed me over the edge of like, oh, I should work on this, but kind of collectively they all added up.
Yeah, no, that definitely makes sense. I think it is definitely a pressing issue and more people do need to learn about it and start thinking of solutions. Um, so I think this has been very, very helpful. Thank you for taking the time to be a part of this interview. Your journey has been amazing. I think it's really cool that despite studying history, which doesn't directly apply to climate change, you still work in the field. So just kind of to wrap up, is there any like piece of advice that you would offer to high school students that might be going down a similar path? Like either who are interested in studying climate change or maybe aren't studying it directly right now and might want to like kind of do what you did and take that step to self-study and things like that.
Yeah, I think it's just a really, currently at least, a really welcoming field. Um, there's so much to learn. It's all still, it's obviously not new, right? This has been happening for years and people have known about it for years. But when we think about what we're going to do as a society to address it, both in terms of adaptation, but also in terms of, uh, mitigation and emissions reductions, it takes everyone and affects everything. And so there's so much to learn about it. So I think being excited to learn not just about like one part of it, but the fact that it does kind of touch everything is, for me, really rewarding. You get to talk to people who are working in fashion, you get to talk to people who are working in food. It really doesn't matter. Architects, like it doesn't matter. Everyone has something to do. And that's sort of the second thing that I would say on this is you don't necessarily need to explicitly study climate in order to make an impact, because we do need to do something kind of across the board. And I think some of the most powerful levers that you can pull are working in existing industries or organizations where maybe climate isn't at the forefront, and you can be that person who is educated and who does bring that in and kind of pushes for it, which still can be hard, right? And still can take a lot of courage to actually push something through, especially like in an existing organization. Um, and then studying it directly is obviously like incredibly important, and there's more and more need for that. So you really don't need to necessarily choose directly. I think it's something you can kind of bring with you in terms of what you're doing.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's really, really good advice. And I think that can be applied to a lot of high school students and their experiences. So that's it. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this interview. And it was really, really helpful.
Yeah, really happy to. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.
And yeah, happy to support or chat.
Great. Thank you.